Hi everyone, this is Rianne, and today I am here with a very different kind of video, one that I have tried to make a couple of times, but I kept struggling with the audio, so this is why I'm doing it not technically live, but I want to make sure it's perfect because it means a lot to me what I'm gonna say here. I have a lot of notes, like right here, and I have been thinking of this for so long, for months, and so I really want to do this video. So today I am doing something very different than astrology and tarot. I am instead talking about fandom, so I'm being online on some sort of social media or message board, forum, or anything like that, YouTube, where you are, with a lot like-minded people who are also all fans of whatever you're into and you're online for in the community. But sorry, but you are the only person or one of the very few who is ESL. So that means English second language, or even third, fourth, and so on. And while everyone else speaks English, everyone else speaks this native language, and it will lead to a lot of things that you would not have realized, you would not have expected. And this is something that I also wasn't really prepared for when I became hardcore, very interactive in online forums and online fandom. I started off doing things in English at 17, 18-ish, but some 18, something like that. But it was not fun. Um, it was not. It was fun, but it was not. God, what was it? It was not very interactive. It was a writing community where one person writes, everyone else leaves feedback, and that's it. It wasn't really with talking and lots of interacting with other people in the community. And when I did that and joined that around when I was 20, something like that, yeah, it was a very rude awakening for being English, and it creeps up in so many different areas. And that's not even talking about the cultural difference that, especially if you do not live in the United States or Canada, North America, especially if you don't live there, you're gonna really stumble upon these problems and these issues for being online. And yeah, I don't want this to be like a TED talk or something. Like, oh, don't do as I do or do as I do. Yeah, not really. But yeah, I just want to speak my truth. I want to just lay out how hard it is and how hard it's going to be always. But it means lots to me, and I do know that I can possibly reach out and just reach a lot of different people that maybe would not have wanted to ever speak up about something like this, or especially did not have like the vocabulary to articulate what this feels like. And so that's the kind of people that I want to do it for, and of course for myself. And there you go. So I told you how I got into this kind of thing in English, and there's a little bit of a cultural thing already here. In the Netherlands, where I'm from, you learn English very young age. Like in elementary school I was in, they already started teaching kids songs in English when they were like 6 years old, and real English lessons were like, I think it was like 11 years old or something like that at that age. And of course, it's always a mandatory subject when you go to middle school, high school. Although in high school you can, under some circumstances, depending on other subject you pick, you can drop it. And what this has to do with it is that it created this idea in my head that I am very good at English. Now, I know that I am good at English now, but I grossly overestimated and my vocabulary when I was fresh out of high school. And yeah, we as Dutch we have this reputation of like being like super strong at English in the rest of Europe, but the problem is that yes and no, because yes, as in that if you go to like the UK or another foreign country, you can handle yourself with your English. Like you can ask for directions, you can order food, you can ask how to pump gas, things like that. Really basic things. But however, I'm just gonna see, yeah. Okay, I have to also watch my phone a little bit for now. This thing. But there you go. I'm almost done. Okay. So, and that is, again, sorry, that was like the a really rude awakening for me and like reality check that, actual English, like interacting with other English speaking people, I mean, by that, it's so different. It's you're nothing with just the high school level English that at least I was felt like I was nothing with just the English that I learned in high school. And after that I went after actually 1 year doing other things like internships. I went to university at 22, and uh, at 20 years no, I had something before that, a pre-course that I had to take before I was allowed even entrance into this university education and translation of English. And so I was there, and it was so hard. I kept just getting my papers back full of red marks and striped through, crossed out, and all these corrections on it, even though it felt like a perfectly fine translation to me. And it was so much extra research work and everything, so many things that work so differently in the United States than they are do here, and and you had to look that up too, and it was frustrating and really tiring, and it was just so hard. Like, oh my god. But yeah, my teacher there, he also said that he saw that problem very often with other students who, are again were like me, very young, fresh out of high school or like a college, or like for me when I did this pre-course, college level ish, something like that. And so, yeah, it's really yeah, and these people, yeah, their level of English is not strong enough for something like this, and so they have to really really push it and push through it, he said. So yeah, I noticed. I In the end I did not finish it. I did do all 4 of the years, but I it was such a struggle to get through it every year. And yeah, my translations, I had to do pre-exams and another pre-exam and another preliminary test, and in order to just pass. And I got negative advice. I was one of the very few people who got the honorable questionable honor of getting negative advice for using this as a job. And so yeah, then I was again back to square one, and I did find other things. But yeah, it did something with me, definitely. Just feelings of failure and just being inferior, and just feeling like, yeah, I had online too had exactly that experience of just always being behind people and just out of the loop and out of all the in jokes and all the special meaning that you only know if you are from the US and such. And yeah, all of that came back really, really hard during my classes. And it's still here. It's still, yeah, make me still kind of afraid to speak up. I don't like my voice at all. I don't like how Dutch it sounds. I don't like how young it sounds. I don't like how childish, girly it sounds. And yeah, it just like it may carve this wound in me or something, and it's healed sorta, but there is always a scar, and that scar is not gonna go away. It is pretty much like here on my wrist, that kind of thing. And it's a reminder every time that I step online. There is a reminder that I am just, one step behind on everyone else. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I would like extra study. And yeah, I go online and I do these things with fandom because I like it, because I love it that much that I am willing to push past the constant feeling of inferiority from being ESL and being the token foreigner. And so that is a little bit of an introduction to it. And I want to also discuss things like cultural differences also, and more things about just being English, not English, and the differences between that. I also want to talk a bit about cultural differences, especially, of course, with me as a Dutch gal, and also just with language. And also, I'm gonna use a lot of examples from reality TV shows that I am part of fandom of or used to be for a very long time. So they will be mentioned too. Big Brother, Survivor, Sequester. What is it? What else? For RuPaul's Drag Race, Thailand, the UK, and all of that. So you think you can dance. I have a lot of examples since we come dancing, and so I'm using these examples to show what it is like to have to be in the spotlight as someone who does not speak English for a first language, and how hard it can get, and how the problem you will be really shocked what kind of problems I'm going to point out that we have. You would not have thought that. I swear you wouldn't have. If you if you could have guessed it, then feel free to let me know in the comments. But I think the majority of people here who only speak English for a native language, they probably don't get it. They probably will be kind of shocked with some things that I'm gonna say. But it's not in a way of like poor me thing. It's just that it's hard enough to speak up as someone when you can't articulate everything that you want to, because there is such a barrier. And so I want to speak up. I want to, and I'm going to. And so in terms of cultural differences, I'm going to use a lot of reality examples here. One thing that I noticed immediately, and it's so big, like when I got into Survivor, and even just like The Amazing Race, like years and years and years ago, when I would let's say, at least from where I grew up and the shows that I grew up with, the attitude towards quitting is not as big in the Netherlands. At least, yeah, again, maybe I missed certain shows where it was. I think there was one, sort of, but the majority, it's just people get called out, but that's kind of it. Like, for like not much later, and it's just all not a thing anymore. Like Nobody talks about it. It's not mentioned anymore, except maybe in a lot previously on kind of thing. And yeah, well, of course, I went on these message boards and for like the Amazing Race, Survivor, and I was so shocked at just how intensely just people would get so mad over a contestant quitting. I couldn't believe it. I was my eyes were like I had never heard of such a thing. Well, I had in my personal life, but not towards just a fucking TV show. And just like, why are you so worked up? Like, what is your problem? And yeah, I got very scared of saying anything against it because it was just masses and masses of people just commenting on it and on social media also just like screaming and harassing contestants and stuff like that and calling it just like disgusting and an insultush. I was so weirded out by it. It's just I did not understand and I still don't really understand. That's just I'm not that kind of not in that kind of culture to be so. Yeah, I guess I mean a lot of these shows you have to be an American or Canadian citizen. It's gonna take a lot to become a citizen of the United States or Canada. You know, visas aren't allowed as far as I recall. So that means it's just not. I'm not even eligible to apply. So maybe that's make it easier for me to just have peace with it. That nobody is stealing my spot. This was never my spot. It's never going to be. So I can just be like, okay, fine, well, do whatever you want with your spot, you know. Um, except if it's being an asshole, then that's not okay. Yeah, shout out to very sarcastic, dishonorable shout out to BB22, by the way. So yeah, this quitting is really just hyper competitive attitude. It was just so yeah, I've seen it. The culture difference. I only really started seeing it about when a different version of a show was being aired, like Australian Survivor, where or even Survivor New Zealand. If contestant there quits again, the American audience all angry, and especially in Survivor, I noticed that it's just unbelievable how much they expect of the contestants to just put themselves through. Like I am this hits me very close, very hard. It just hits me in the heart because I am chronically ill. So I know what it's like to have to just keep going and push through it and tough it out. Like I do that every day, 24/7. So to see people so and just demanding of people to push through injuries and being super sick for days on end and unable to stand up and stuff like that gets me. That gets to me really, really badly. And because I know what it feels like to be accused of that. Let's leave it at that. That's how personal I'm gonna get right now. Uh, and so that also plays a part in it, obviously. And just yeah, it was such a weird. And it's to a point where when I see it in a foreign version or like foreign, I mean foreign slash international for American audiences perspective. Yeah, I just see something happening, and I just know American is gonna hate it. I know it. I just know when I watch it. And a very, very, very notorious example happened, and this is a spoiler for Drag Race UK. There we go. It is a spoiler for Drag Race UK, and so skip if you don't want to be spoiled. And so this was in the finale with the final three, and they had to do a speech on why they think they deserve to win, and why they want to win, what it means to them. And so Bara Chips had her speech, and instead of the speech, she was just bowing. She just gracefully bowed out. She was like, I know that Davina and Vivian are much stronger contestants. They have consistently been much stronger, and they deserve it, and things like that. And I watched that, and I knew that was not going to go down well with the American audience. While here in Europe, there is a bit of a different attitude towards that. And well, I looked it up on Reddit, I checked, and social media, and yep, lo and behold, so much anger towards her decision, and just like, oh, why is she not doing that? And I think it didn't help that at some point All Stars 5 from the regular RuPaul's Drag Race was airing, and that had some people just like, again, spoilers, possibly had a situation like that. And again, so there were a lot of, yeah, it was very hard to just keep seeing that. So yeah, thing is that, and this was that, especially I've seen, especially in UK, the show I would watch, even back in like 2006. I would watch Strictly Come Dancing, the UK version of Dancing with the Stars, and on their website, you could comment on there. They didn't even have a message board back then, and there were contestants. Spoiler alert: season 5, there were 2 contestants who massively outlasted their welcome, worn out their welcome, whatever it is the saying is. And they were voted through constantly by the audience, and there were people crying on the message board how it's such a farce and this is bullshit, and like if they had any dignity and any respect for the integrity of the show and the best people winning, they would quit so that the robbed queen of the week could come back and stuff like that. And that happened every season that I watched. And I am still, yeah, I've been watching for a very long time. And I did see some of that with the American version, a few seasons that I watched, and also So You Can Dance, but it was more, I felt that it was more angry at the audience than at the contestants themselves. Or angry at the judges, instead of, and well, in these Impact Strictly and also in some Dutch shows that I watch, the anger was really towards the contestants themselves for not quitting when they should because they don't deserve it, or quitting and that's just an insult for another person's spot. And like, but out of those 2, the biggest one was about people outstaying their welcome and just who don't deserve it to be there. And so in where I come from, it can actually be seen as the better option to say, okay, I'm done, to admit defeat, admit that you lost, know and acknowledge that you lost, know and acknowledge that there are people that are stronger than you, that deserve it more than you. And so, it's noble, instead of, and it shows integrity instead of, staying until the end and just sneaking by a lot of people who become robbed queens and robbed kings. And so, actually, in the condensed season where there was a guy, he was voted, through in the bottom 2, and he sacrificed himself for the other guy because he was not happy in the competition. He had been miserable. His then girlfriend was just voted out, so he was like, I'm done. Please just give Liam my spot. And the first and the second season of Dutch Idol. And yeah, only there I can think of like situation where someone who only there I can think of like situation where someone who did not accept defeat, they got called out for that. Actually, they got called out attitude towards quitting or not quitting, or wanting to not give up or giving up. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's highlights, like Dutch culture. They don't want people to just keep clinging on and just push through and just like, no, I will stay here till no, you have to give me another chance. They don't like it when you go and just plead for people to give you another chance and stuff like that. Yeah, but because you're supposed to just admit that you lost, admit that this is how far you will go, and be a graceful loser. Um, then let's see. Yeah, I don't really recall a lot of. Yeah, I don't really. I never really watched Expedition Robinson or Outlaw, similar shows like that in the Netherlands that have the survivor elements. I do remember there was one that was a bit. Yeah, in the jungle. Remember there was one that was a bit. Yeah, in the jungle, or while looking for themselves. It was like real girls. It's really weird titles, but I think they did have when someone switched wanted to switch teams because they were treated really badly by their team, that people just that team got so furious when she said that she wanted to switch teams, that just, yeah, it that, yeah, I think that's one of the few times I can remember when it was like, no quitting is bad, like the American audience feels about it. Um, so I had this thing. I also have as an example in Drag Race Thailand, season 2. Spoiler alert! It's a little bit of thing there where you had where there was like contestant that had been in the bottom 2 constantly, and then or bottom 3, constantly had to do the lip syncs, and then they were up against a really good friend in a competition who had been consistently very strong, and just had, like, up until, I don't know, week 6 or 7, something like that, she had never had a bad, or at least no, I don't remember her having been like super super bad. And so the other queens, the other person, they were like, no, I don't want to go up against her. What if I beat her? What if she deserves it so much? Like, I have been here clinging on by the skin of my teeth, and she's like, it wouldn't be fair. In the end, they did lip sync, and they were also talked into lip syncing by the jury, by the judges. But yeah, that was another example of, I think, yeah, fair. I don't think I can imagine like this happening a lot on show, the American version of the show, and then I mean from other Americans, not people who have immigrated to the United States, or something like that, from queens who immigrated. I can imagine it like born and raised, born and bred American queen on the American version of Drag Race doing something like that. And because of the no, don't quit, don't ever quit attitude, never say die, that kind of thing. Then, yeah, another really big one, and this one is just so hard for me to watch. This was Nikki Doll in season 12, the most recent regular season. And so she was French. She's French, speaks English as a second language, and she struggled so much with just like following things, and especially they got her on her case very much for like her pronunciation, for just not really seeing like excitement or expression coming from her. They didn't see they see personality, and so in challenges where she had to like do things with a script, which includes words and words that she has to translate while she is doing the acting. Yeah, there it absolutely came up, and there was a lot of just. I remember when I watched that, I didn't feel good about it, obviously, but I kind of accepted it. But then someone posted a thread about it on Reddit, and I was so relieved. Finally, a different opinion. Finally, someone pointing out that is it really fair to just be so hard on someone who can't do this naturally? Um, and again, that just goes back to my experiences where again, I was called boring, that I had no personality, that I am just blank, that I just reiterate everything that everyone else said. I don't have any personal opinions or any, like, I can't think for myself. I got so much of that crap at me. Well, the truth is that, of course, that I have to put so much through a cultural barrier, through a language barrier. And yeah, it's going to take a while to get it all across. And like right now, will have to do this very deliberate. I will have to do deliberate to make sure that I can think of what I want to say while I'm saying it, translating very rapidly in the back of my head. She's lying, she's making shit up. While I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna say something. Yeah, here, so there. Um, So I saw myself so much in Nikki. Like I was close to crying a couple of times during the episodes. Uh, yeah. And again, she was like, okay, I was the weakest. And again, American audience, I saw they were not happy with her for saying that. Like, why don't you fight for it? Well, again, France is in Europe, European country, and just again, the attitude is a lot more about just, be fair and fair, even if this is at the expense of yourself. And so, yeah, I never saw anything wrong with that community or something like that, because it's just near impossible to talk to people there. They are so set in their ways and so stubborn and so just full on demanding of the contestants to put themselves through everything, and like even certain contestants that have been medically evacuated, they get still years later, they still get like their reasons for it still get debated, they still get questioned, they still get accused of faking it and stuff, like to get out of the show and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I don't want to engage with that kind of thing. I spoke up for the first time during Winners at War. Another spoiler alert, but someone quits the Act of Extinction, and that person was a person of color. Also, I do have to bring that up, and yeah, got a lot of. This was someone that was a legend in Survivor crowds, and after that quit, that was just like it was accepted within the rules because of Edge of Extinction, but nope, fans just like, oh, I lost all my respect for her. I lost all my respect. They're not a queen, they're nothing and stuff like that. I didn't see a lot of like very hardcore, at least not on when I remember in the other season that did Edge of Extinction, that also had, spoiler alert, people quitting. I was actually shocked that I didn't get just completely get my head bitten off and chewed off by fans for saying that I didn't, that I understood one of the contestants quitting and that I wasn't mad over it. But yeah, it was definitely also very hotly debated, and on Reddit, if I remember correctly, and so again, and even when it's it was within the rules, but nope, nope. Someone who has been a legend in Survivor history, nope, they quit and nope, they're done. Yeah, like, no care about the reason, whatever, blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't engage with that. It reminds me too much of my personal life. Let's see what else. I think, yeah, I saw a little bit of like how Dutch shows, they are vicious though. Like the fans can get so bad. Well, Dutch people in general are very blunt, so put them on an anonymous platform. And yeah, in our country, there's a lot of swearing, slurs that are still normal. Well, they're considered acceptable if you're calling out someone who is stupid. And that includes racial slurs and slurs towards disability and misogyny and things like that, sadly. And it's, yeah, make it really bad. Audiences versus British version of Strictly Come Dancing. The British people, they're always accusing the judges of being partial and just having their favorites and the judges' bet. And like they have a fresh professional dancer, Otima Buse, and her sister, at least last year, she was on the jury as a judge. And yeah, of course, a lot of it was, yeah, there were people like critically looking like, oh, is her sister not just being nice and extra generous with the grades because her sister is dancing, stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I see also on Drag Race ESL Queens, and it is something that I have also felt in just circle of friends and for the token forerunner, and that's people. Especially on Drag Race, I see that ESL queens, they if they play the funny foreigner part or just make fun of their accent or something like that, or just be the joke or butt of the joke or just be funny, that's fine. But if they want to play a more serious role, even if it's Drag Race, like if it's something where they can't just play up the shtick or like the like Cynthia Lee Fontaine with her thing, or I see a lot of Latinx queens who try and who end up doing this. And so, but if they don't do that, then yeah, it kind of like shows is not the right word, but yeah, they get accused of just like not being as expressive enough or not enough personality and things like that, because again they have to do everything through several filters. And the people that I've seen this happen to, queens, I've seen this already mentioned Nikki Doll. I've seen it with Mercedes Iman Diamond, even though she made a meme and a song out of this opulent thing. It was getting very frustrating to see her constantly be corrected about the opulence or whatever. Like she got it, she got some, yeah, she got pretty hard too, I think, to me watching as a fellow ESL. And also Plastic Tiara, who also got just accused of like that she was making it up, that she didn't grow up with English culture or American culture. I mean, until like she was 11, or that her accent, like it was with her accent that was fake or something like that. It's just all of these things, and just yeah, like people like fans too. It bothered me that the judges also seem to just not want to accept that there may just be a cultural difference, and yeah, they are not doing things or making shit up or whatever. One moment. One moment, please. I'm gonna have to do this quickly with my phone. Restore the like for my internet. Check if it is still all on. And so I do want to point it out. And yes, you have